Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. I am here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Jerome Gessaroli joins us today to discuss how freedom and the marketplace brings us personal and societal enrichment. Jerome is a senior fellow at the Macdonald Laurier Institute, a Canadian think tank. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back, Tony.
No, it's great to have you, of course. And I guess one of the things that I was reading about was this presentation that you're familiar with called Freedom and Fortune. So maybe can you explain that to our audience?
Sure. This idea here, a lot of people aren't aware that over time, human prosperity has not gone up in a linear fashion. Humans were poor and having a difficult time to live in a short lifespan for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And it's only in the last couple hundred years that there's been an explosion in growth and prosperity and income and lifestyle also. And we want to try to explore what was the reason behind that, what's happened in the last couple hundred years, and what lessons can we learn from that going forward.
Yeah, no, of course. And I remember from my university days reading Thomas Hobbes and talking about life as being solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. But the indicators really for a big bulk of humanity, this is the best time in which to live. Is that not correct?
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it can't be any more clear. And although wealth may not be completely equal throughout the world, almost every area of the world, part of the world, has experienced dramatic increases in prosperity in the last couple hundred years. There's a famous graph that I like to show when I talk about this. It's called the hockey stick graph. And so you get the idea of its shape. And on the x-axis, it's time, and on the y-axis, the vertical axis, it's the level of GDP, per capita income. And it's flat. It's flat from 1000 BC all the way to about roughly 1800s, and then it just curves and almost goes up vertically in the last couple hundred years. So it's very, very dramatic in terms of that economic growth. And there's some factors that are...
Yeah, tell us about what happened in 1800 that defines that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of thought as to what was going on, what were the reasons behind it. And they were looking at, well, was it that countries had access to natural resources, or was it because there was slavery and that brought it on, or was it because of class struggle that allowed? And a lot of these things, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up to water. Okay, things like natural resources, it may actually contribute a little bit. But if you get countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo or Brazil, even for that matter, they've got endowed with massive resources, right. So they should be very rich, and they're not. On the other hand, you've got Japan, Hong Kong, that have got very few resources. So if that was the argument, then they should be quite poor, and they're very rich. Mm-hmm. So, the resources, what wasn't it? Rather, what it was the thinking, the attitudes, and the ideas that started to change around the 1700s, 1750s, something like that. And it was actually in an area, part of Europe, that actually wasn't all that well developed. It was considered kind of the backwaters around to the Holland, Netherlands, and then into England and Scotland, and from there those ideas permeated throughout Europe and elsewhere.
And that was the Industrial Revolution, basically.
Yes, right? Yeah, that's right. It was the Industrial Revolution started thereafter, and it was these ideas that in the past, if you weren't part of the clergy or nobility, you were nothing. You had very little rights, and there was very little respect given to the craftsmen and the merchants and the traders, right. And the blacksmiths and things like that. And that started to change, where people started to see value in that type of work.
Right.
And it started to allow for more freedom for people to pursue those,
Sure.
those sectors.
We're going to take a brief break. Jerome, we'll be right back with you after these commercial messages.
Great.